So we have holy as my God, and this holy is the God Shemesh, who is coming up through the mountains and clawing his way through the mountains and rising. What's interesting, though, is this idea of the sunrise between two mountains. You watch this. First of all, there was a book put out just recently, last few years, called Fire in the Minds of Men, The Origins of the Revolutionary Movement. The Origins of the Revolution, the World Revolutionary Faith and Movement, by James Billington. James Billington was the chief librarian for the Library of Congress. You don't get any more mainstream than that. And in his book, he said the history of modern revolutions is the story of people in the grip of ideas and beliefs. In this masterful work, James Billington, whose first book was called The Icon and the Axe, established him as both a formidable scholar and a sparkling storyteller. But in this book called The Fire in the Minds of Men, he traces the course of the revolutionary faith from its earliest origins in occult Freemasonry to the allegedly scientific Marxism of today. So when we talk about scientific Marxism, world communism is actually being carried on by a secret society in Rome, which we call Freemasonry. The Masonic orders are different in every country, but in Rome, Freemasonry is an organized criminal operation, and who has been featured in motion pictures and television shows and documentaries. Now, here at the front of the book, the first of the book, is in the introduction, is a very important comment by James Billington. He said, a recurrent mythic model for revolutionaries, early romantics, young Karl Marx, and the Russians of Lenin's time was Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods for the use of mankind. The Promethean faith of revolutionaries resembles in many respects the general modern belief that science would lead men out of darkness into the light. But there was also a more pointed millennial assumption that, quote, on the new day, the sun that was dawning, the sun would never set. That's a very important term, the new day. You will see it everywhere. So I'm going back to the Promethean faith of revolutionaries resembles in many respects the general modern belief system that science would lead men out of darkness into light, and that there was also a more pointed millennial assumption that on the new day that was dawning, the sun would never set. Early during the French Revolutionary period was born the idea of a solar myth of the revolution, suggesting that the sun was rising on a new world order, on a new era in which the whole world was going to become a world revolutionary movement, and in which darkness would vanish forever. The image became implanted at the level of consciousness that simultaneously interpreted something real and produced a new reality. The new reality that they sought, the French Revolution sought, was radically secular and stringently simple. The ideal was not the balanced complexity of the new American Federation, but the occult simplicity of its great seal on the all-seeing eye atop the pyramid over the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is the Latin for New World Order. And that's what the Pope is always talking about, the coming of the New World Order. We should all work toward the New World Order. That's world communism being promoted by the Vatican, financed and organized by the Vatican. Here in New York, you will see Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods and brought it down to earth. The idea is that Prometheus was a god who could go into heaven and hear what the gods of the universe are saying and what they're going to do. And then he would take those secrets from the gods and quietly come down here to the earth and tell us how to form our Illuminati, to control our earth, just like the gods are doing it with our whole creation. And so here in New York's Rockefeller Plaza, you have Prometheus, of course. Rockefellers were the most important financiers of the Communist Party of China. The Communist Party of Russia was financed by the Rockefellers. They put up the money to form the Soviet Union. And so here is Prometheus stealing fire. Here's a close-up picture of Prometheus stealing the fire from the gods. And this is the same fire that you will see on the back of the dime in the Statue of Liberty. It's holding the Promethean fire of revolution. It represents the fire of revolution around the world. Masonic Orders of Fraternity by Manly P. Hall. In his book called The Masonic Orders of Fraternity, he wrote this: the direct descent of the essential program of the esoteric societies or schools, the direct descent of the essential program of the esoteric schools was entrusted to groups already well conditioned for the work. The guilds, trade unions, similar protective and benevolent societies had been internally strengthened by the introduction of a new kind of learning. It was called communism, a new learning, a new way to view the world of government. And the advancement of this plan required the enslavement of the boundaries of the philosophical overstatement. A world fraternity, we're talking about a new world order, a world fraternity was needed, sustained by a deep and broad program of education according to the method. Such a fraternity could not immediately include all men, but it could include and it could unite the activities of certain kinds of men. Yeah, all mafiosi gangsters, regardless of their racial or religious beliefs of the nations in that they lived, and the nations that they lived in. These were, Manly P. Hall's words says, these were the men of towardness, those sons of tomorrow, whose symbol was a blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. He goes on to say, while it is difficult, obviously, to trace the elements of a pattern that was never intended to be obvious, the broad shape of the design is dimly apparent. There is a secret, invisible empire, a world revolutionary communism and mafiosi and organized crime on the earth. But the most important part, it says, these were the men of towardness, those sons of tomorrow, who used the symbol. Their symbol was a blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. Over the mountains of the east, a blazing sun that these occult Freemasons are going to use as they build their new world communist order over the world. Well, here in North Korea, you will see the communist symbol of the sun rising over the mountain of the east. And they're all celebrating the rising sun of a dawn of a new day. This is in North Korea. Communist Party in India is a Marxist-Leninist Communist Party in India. And what do you see as the sun rising over the mountains of the east? You will see in the Rastafarians and the Caribbean what their revolutionary communist music call uprising. You will see the sunrise over the mountains of the east, a symbol for the world revolutionary movement. Here on the stamps of Israel, you will see in Israel on the stamps These were the men of towardness, those sons of tomorrow, whose symbol was a blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. And there it is in Israel. Here you will see some of the countries that when the Soviet Union took over in Asia, the Soviet Union had so many little countries under them. And all of these little countries that the Soviet Communist Party took over, all the countries were always symbolized by a mountain rising over the sun rising over the mountains of the east. Here's Romania with the sunrise over the mountains. In communist Mongolia, you'll see the sun rising over the mountains. You'll see it everywhere in the Soviet Union. In Armenia, you will see the sun rising over the mountains of Armenia. The sun rising over the mountains. And here it is again in Armenia, back in 1919. You'll see the sun rise over the mountain. It's a symbol for the World Revolutionary Masonic Order, who's operating out of the Vatican, operating purposely to overthrow the governments of the world and to bring under subjection all of the peoples of this world under a communist regime, under one world government with absolute power over the whole human race. You will always see the sunrise behind the mountains and all communist symbolism of the different countries that communism has taken over. And here in Russia, you will see the Russian colors of red, white, and blue. Most people don't know that the new Russian colors, official colors of the Russian Federation is red, white, and blue. And what you see is a sunrise behind the mountains of the east. So we see it everywhere, the concept of the sunrise behind the mountains representing the World Revolutionary Movement. Here's the international official organ of the Independent Theosophical Society, and you will see above is the Star of David and the swastika and the crux from Egypt, and you will see in the Egyptian door, you will see the sun rising over the mountains of the east. The People's Republic of Japan, you see the sun rising over the mountains of the east. Even in Asia, you will see the same concept. Everywhere you see Bolivia, with the sunrise over the mountains. Masonic Orders of Fraternity again talks about the sun. The symbol was for the blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. This is important because you have in the west, you have British Columbia, the sun rising over the mountain. And then on the east coast, you have the District of Columbia. Here you have the state of Arizona. You see the sun rising over the mountains. Here's Nevada. There's Montana. You will see the sunrise over the mountains of the east. Here's Romania with the sunrise. Communist Mongolia. We have the state of Ohio with the sun rising over the mountains of the east. This just shows you how the Illuminati has set up our states and our state governments a long time before your great-grandmother was even born. A long time ago, back in the 1800s, 1700s and 1800s, when America was being founded, all of our states that were being founded by the secret societies of Freemasons out of Rome. The Holy Father, who represents God, he was the Godfather. This is why our country is in the condition it's in today. The state of Arizona, you see the sunrise. Nevada, you'll see the same sunrise. Everywhere you look, the state of Indiana, you'll see the sunrise over the mountains. The Department of the Interior back in 1849. What do you see but the sun rising over the mountains of the east? Nevada again. Santa Barbara, the city of Santa Barbara has a sunrise over the mountains of the east. The state of Alaska, And in New York, the symbol for the state of New York is the sun rising over the mountains of the east. Again, you see the same thing in New York and New York City and New York State, Kansas. So this is a very important symbol of the sun rising over the mountains. Obviously, the idea is to express that the world revolutionary movement called the Illuminati is setting up your world, is setting up your country, is setting up your different states, is setting up your banking institutions, is conducting your wars, is setting up your churches and your religions, and the entire superstructure of Western civilization is being quietly and professionally put together in such a way that you will never know how your government really works. But they are in control, period. And here we have the Arab Federation. You'll see the sunrise behind the mountains of the east with the Arab symbols for the swords. Now here's an interesting side note. This is the old seal that we saw before, Shamash, the sun god, rising. Look on the bottom, at the bottom right, you will see the Egyptian counterpart. This is the old Assyrian sun god, Shamash, but you'll see the Egyptian counterpart. You see this symbol? Yeah. Well, here's the sunrise over the mountains on Google. The Egyptian sunrise you will see on the bottom right. Sunrise over the mountains on Google. Sunrise on the mountains in Apple. You have sunrise over the mountains of Microsoft. Sunrise over the mountains in Samsung. Sunrise over the mountains on Twitter. Sunrise over the mountains on Facebook. Sunrise over the mountains. Sunrise over the mountains. This is why all of these different systems are referred to as social networks. Why? Because it's socialism. Socialism is referred to as the USSR. When there was a Soviet Union, it used to be called the USSR. USSR for the Soviet Communist Party was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. USSR. Today we don't have socialist republic. We have the whole entire world is now being brought into some kind of a world socialist movement or world communism, in which the whole earth is going to be guided by a secret society of Freemasons operating out of Rome. As far back as we can go back in history, we can see it came out of Rome. And the new day that was dawning the sun would never set, the new day. Well, here's the Soviet coat of arms back in 1923. The 1923, when the Soviet Union was being founded, they had the Soviet coat of arms. All countries must have a coat of arms. So back in 1923, we have the Soviet Union. The World Communist Party set up the Soviet Union, and it says in the dictionary, the Soviet coat of arms left graphically presents the dawn of a new day for the entire world. I just said that before. The new day is dawning. And so the Soviet coat of arms graphically presents the dawn of a new day. And here we have Hillary Clinton running the dawn of a new day for Hillary Clinton, a Soviet operative in America. And they are the people, B.O., Barack Obama, old B.O., and Clinton. They both are crying about Trump colluding with Russians, when they are themselves Soviet agents operating inside the United States. Pretty incredible, the dawn of a new day. The Communist Party was ecstatic over the over the 2008 election, because they finally got old B.O. into office. Barack Obama, the world-famous communist, Marxist-Leninist overthrower of the United States of America, and the people loved it. The people loved him. Well, that's what the Illuminati masters, the Freemasonic orders out of Rome, they knew. The people will love Obama because he's a black man and he talks like a white man. And Hillary Clinton with her dawn of a new day. A new day is dawning. Yeah, thank God he's gone. Here we have Mr. Obama's win was announced in Times Square, New York. And all the airhead, dingbat, knuckle-dragging, goofballs, uneducated dingbats are all crying because we've finally got an old Marxist-Leninist communist who's going to bring about a new world order. And we've been praying for someone to come and bring a new world order, world communism, and this is incredible. A new day dawns for our country. Yeah. Ralph Nader says, yeah, it's a new day for America. Yeah, Spider-Man is a brand new day for Spider-Man. And 1939, you will see, 1939, the World's Fair. What was the theme for the World's Fair in 1939? See the sun through the grave. It's the dawn of a new day. Hail the dawn of a new day. That's the 1939 World's Fair. 1939 when the Second World War began with Adolf Hitler. And here it is in Deutschland, Germany. You will see the sunrise on the left behind the mountains of the east, and you will see it's a Nazi symbol. Here again, there's a sunrise behind the mountains of the east. Now, both of those symbols, you will see it's the eagle with the swastika. Here is an article from the German magazine, talks about Adolf Hitler, the old Adolf Hitler, the old Marxist-Leninist Soviet communist Nazi Führer, who fed the German people the scam from the Vatican and British BS, and it's worked. It worked for a while. Hitler said Germany can be saved only by the dictatorship of a national will and the determination to take action. My fellow Germans, awaken. A new day is dawning. I've heard that before. The Nazis with the new day that was dawning, with the communists in Russia whose new day was dawning, and now it's finally starting to dawn on the whole world. We have been had. The entire human race is now in the hands of the secret societies because our states were founded by them, our government was founded by them, our criminal justice system was founded by them, their court systems. It's an incredible story of how the Western world, America, has been betrayed, and ignorant people have no idea in the world what's coming down and what's going to happen to America soon. It's all there. The dawn of a new day, says Hitler. Pope calls for a world new order. I can imagine. Soviet coat of arms, the dawn of a new day. This is talking about the Solomon's Temple in the Hebrew dictionary. It talks about the temple was laid out on the east-west axis with the entrance to the east, on the east. Some have suggested that this permitted the sun to illuminate, like Illuminati, to illuminate the inside of the temple, of Jehovah's temple on the first day of autumn. And that this was related to the solar cult of the festival of Yahweh's enthronement. The sun god Aton, tetragram Aton. We see it on Jewish symbols, sunrise Torah, We see the pictures of sunrise, sun worshiping Jews in Jerusalem, worshiping God's Son, the light of the world, our risen Savior, the church and the religions in general. We have global spiritual communism. And the masters of this world realized our incoming world government will be called God's kingdom. And God's kingdom is going to be the same old stuff that's always been pushed from day one. God's kingdom will have the symbol of a blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east to represent the coming of the World Communist Party to rule the world. Here you have pictures within the Christian church of the sunrise over the mountains. Christian challenge, you'll see the sunrise over the mountains. The whole idea of Christianity is based on the sunrise over the mountains of the east. Stained glass, where the hapless father is showing his wife and the children. See, here's what we're going to be crawling on our knees to. The Masonic order of Italy, under the Holy Father, who represents God through the world Godfather, who's going to bring about the new day and a new dawn of the sunrise. And Jimmy Carter, oh Jimmy, in a speech in Plains, Georgia on the dawn of November 3rd, 1976, Jimmy said, "I see the sun rising on a beautiful new day." A beautiful new day, Jimmy Carter. No wonder our country has been raped and plundered and our laws are trashed and our future is being trashed. So we have something called the New Day, which is CNN. I call CNN the Communist News Network, the New Day. And so the New Day is presented in CNN, and what is the inside of? It's inside of a red square. That's what in Russia, they have a red square in the Soviet, and the Soviet government, it's in the red square. And so this whole idea of the dawn of a new day for the entire world is coming about. Nearly a dozen big Republican donors backing different presidential candidates are coming together to help fund an advertising campaign attacking the frontrunner, Donald Trump, who faces sharp criticism from rules this week for his inflammatory comments about Muslims. Matthew David, a spokesman for the group planning this attempt by the Super PAC, calls the New Day for America. And this is where it's going to be supporting an Ohio governor, and this whole new thing about to overthrow the President Trump is being guided by an organization called the New Day for America, the World Communist Movement. Now, Karl Marx, we know, has been called the father of communism. He was the father of nothing. He didn't come up with communism. It was the Illuminati Freemasons. But here in this article in the encyclopedia, it says Karl Marx said that for society to change into a communistic society is going to take a transitional period. It's going to take a little time for us to get the people prepared for accepting a new world order in their government. No more freedom, no more of that bull crap of freedom and liberty and justice for all. That's over. We got a new government coming in, a new world order in which everybody is going to crawl on your knees to the emperor. And you better get yourself in line with the new government. And so Karl Marx said that for a society to change into a communist government, that's why we have old BO with the change you can believe in. Yeah, the change is changing from American to a communist new world order. Here in the Discovery Channel had a series of videos put out about the life of Adolf Hitler. And it says in the back of this video, it says, Volume 1, The Early Years of Adolf Hitler. For a nation in darkness. Well, Germany was not in darkness. It was a highly intelligent country. And it says, for a nation in darkness, it was a promise of a new dawn for the failed artist, Adolf Hitler. It was a chance to change society. Well, that's what B.O. talked about, the change that people will believe in. This is the change you've been waiting for. You're tired of all this freedom and liberty and justice for all and goodness and decency. Let's change it into a world communist party and a world totalitarian state in which the whole world will now live under totalitarian Roman fashion.